Lord, I pray that you bless this message. And I pray that you speak through me, the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart. Let it be pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. I stand here not at all worthy to talk about this topic. I know that there's a lot of people here that are way more experienced than I am. We're talking about the series about marriage life and how the cross reshapes it. So I always tell the younger ones, there's a lot of people that know this story. Soji always tells people about this story where he started praying for his wife at the age of 16. So there was a message that he was at some conference that he went to, and he heard this message when he was 16. When you turn 13, you really should start praying for your spouse. This is for girls and guys, okay? So he was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm already 16 and I'm behind. And I always make fun of him saying, that's what happened, you missed those 3 years, that's what happened. But he was praying morning and evening for his spouse. I think it's very important that we young people take that into consideration. We spend so much time planning a wedding, trying to find the ideal man or woman, but how much time do we spend on our own preparing ourselves and leading into it in a godly way? The average stat in the U.S. for a marriage to last is 8 years. I know many of y'all sitting here are probably coming close to 50 years, so that is such a blessing. In our community, unfortunately, divorce is not a taboo word anymore. It's well accepted even by Christians, and there is a reason why the divorce rate and all this is going high. It's because Satan is many Christian families, forget the worldly families, many Christian homes are being attacked by Satan, and we don't recognize it. There's a lot of egos, there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of work of the Satan in our homes, and we think, we don't recognize Satan as the enemy, and we recognize each other we identify each other as the enemy. We are not the enemy, he's the enemy. That's the first thing that we have to make sure that we realize. A lot of people go into marriage with the wrong priorities. If you get a proposal, first thing that you ask is, okay, what does this guy do? Or what does the girl do? Is she a doctor? Is she an engineer? Does she have a good, is she a nurse practitioner? Is she a PA? Whatever, does she have a good, or he have a good, stable career? How many of us really, genuinely ask, okay, where is he with God? Or where is she with God? Because that is the first and foremost thing that we should be looking at. There's a lot of pressure of meeting unrealistic expectations. Nowadays, we're all on Instagram and Facebook seeing how this guy proposed to the girl. He's taking her to Paris to propose. I mean, back in the day when Paul Soji came to see me, he was in Michigan and I was in Dallas. We were both, still starting out. I was in school, he was barely working. He was just starting to work. And the people at his work said, well, you can't go see her and try to propose to her without a ring. And he was coming the first time to see me, and he thought this is the American way of doing things. So he came home, he went and got this ring that he I'm sure he couldn't afford at the time. It was a small ring, but it's such a big thing for me because I knew where he was coming from. But my point is, the world tells people what you are supposed to do. These are the expectations of a perfect guy, or these are the expectations of a perfect girl. So we are constantly seeing Facebook, Instagram on, they went out here, they're here on vacation. So why can't we do this? Why can't knowingly or unknowingly, subconsciously, you're comparing yourself with other people and not focusing on your blessings, but focusing on what you really don't have. So, and then another thing that we have issues with going into a marriage is you're looking for that other person to complete you. The other person, you're looking for the other person to really fix your problems, really. Like you're going into a marriage saying, okay, if I marry this person, I'm going to be okay because they're going to fix me. You have no idea. Like you're going into a marriage, if you're trying to get the other person to fix you, you're headed for trouble. There's a lot of power struggles in this world, in marriages today. Pretty much everybody's an earning member, so there's no, well, you know, I don't need you anymore kind of attitude is there. I can survive without you. If that attitude is there, if you don't see my way, then I don't really have to put up with you. There's a lot of that kind of attitude. Let's turn our Bibles to Ephesians chapter 5. I'm sure this is a passage that everybody is familiar with. So this is a chapter where Paul is talking to Christians about their lifestyles and their family unit. He's talking about different relationships, and he's talking about setting standards in relationship, and marriage is one of them. Let's look at Ephesians chapter 5. Can someone read starting with verse 20?
Giving thanks to God the Father at all times for everything in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Be subject to one another.
No, that's good. That's good for now. Thank you. It talks about giving thanks to God in everything. How many of us are stand here with a grateful heart for the spouse that we have? How many people are truly, genuinely thankful for the spouse that we have? It's, you know, we take, our spouse, I think, are one of the people that we take for granted. They're always going to be there. You know, it's okay. It's fine. They'll take care of it. They'll manage. But how do we really value our marriage? Do we really take the time to invest in our marriage? Do we take the time to really get to know our spouse? Having a grateful heart has a lot to do with our perspective and our focus. You know, it's all about, it's like a camera lens. If you zoom in, it's whatever you zoom in. If you zoom in on your blessing, that's what you see. If you zoom in on our challenges, that's all you're going to see. So that perspective of having a grateful heart is very important. Okay, verse 21. Can someone read verse 21?
Giving to one another out of reverence for Christ.
Okay, submitting to one another out of reverence for Christ. The key thing here is submit, and note, it doesn't say women submit, right? It says submit to one another. That means both parties have to submit to each other, but why are they submitting? Out of reverence for Christ. Submission cannot be forced. You can't say, just because you're a woman, you need to submit to me. Just because you're a man, you need to love me. All of this stuff is not forced. It has to come from the heart. Mutual respect, because they know the authority that has brought them together. The minute that you realize that the couple are not brought together by like Shadi.com or like, you know, people that you knew, it has nothing to do with it. Everybody who's sitting here is brought together by God. It's not by chance, it's not by anything else but the grace of God that has brought y'all together. God knew when He created your husband that He needed to create a wife, a person that's going to be your wife. So if you look at couples, I'll take Ligy and me for example. We are polar opposites. He's very, very structured, very punctual, everything, and I am completely different. I am very spontaneous. I am not so punctual. There's a lot of characteristics, you know. I love to go, I'm always like, I like to go out all the time. He wants his alone time. And you know, it's funny because in our first year of marriage, or our first few years of marriage, we thought we knew each other. Like when we used to talk before we got married, I had this completely different picture of Soji. He used to say, yeah, you know, we cooked. You know, he used to live like with a bunch of guys, I guess. And he used to tell me like what he used to eat for dinner, and he was telling me all these like exotic stuff like chicken tikka. Back in the day, chicken tikka was like, you know, we used to always have rice and curry and all that at our house. So I was like, man, I'm going to be marrying this guy, and I'm going to be eating chicken tikka and like porota and naan and all this stuff. Well, little did I know, once we got married, he was just helping cut the stuff and clean the dishes. He was not doing the cooking. So, you know, I had to learn to cook. So that's marriage. You know, when you're courting somebody, what you see is not what you get. It doesn't matter how much this other person, both people are bringing the best of each other during courtship. When you're married to somebody, I'm sure everybody's smiling because you know this is the truth. People that you court are not the people you get married to. And the people that you get married to, they change. Throughout their lives, if they want their marriage to be successful, you have to change. You have to learn to be compatible with each other. You cannot say, it's all about perfect union. I have a slide on the next page. So take a look at this water, and okay, there's this glass of water, right? That water, what color is it? It's clear. And what color is that coffee? Black. You mix them together, what color does it become? It's like a brownish color, right? Okay, they become together, and then they're like, you know what, I don't want to be together, I want to be apart, like separate. I don't want to be together anymore. I want to be, I don't like this new composition. I want to be separate. How do you make them separate? Can somebody can someone filter that water out and make the coffee back the same way it was? You can't. That's how marriage is. Once you get married, you're in it for the long haul of things. And so you're stuck together. Even if you try to separate that person or that union, it's not going to be the same as ever. So we talk about this in Ephesians. We talk about, if we keep going, let's continue to 22 and 23. Someone please read that.
Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is head of the wife, as also Christ is head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body.
Okay. This is Ephesians chapter 5, verses 22 is the most favorite verse of pretty much every husband, because it says, wives, submit yourself to your husband but they just scare that part. Wives, submit yourself to your own husbands. But then they don't read the rest of it. At least Soji, like every time we're at a wedding, he's always nudging me saying, see, you need to submit to me. And I agree, we are to submit. But then let's keep on reading. That submission has to do with, well, let's keep on reading. Let's go into 23 and let's read 23 through 24.
Just as the church is subject to Christ, so also wives ought to be in everything to their husbands. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her.
Okay. So this is talking about Christ as the head of the church. We're talking about headship. So this term headship means, it's misinterpreted in a lot of times. The headship does not mean slavery. The headship does not mean you need to have my chai ready, you need to have my laundry ready, you need to have everything done to be a perfect wife. That's not what it means. In fact, this verse gives the husbands a lot of responsibility. As the Christ loved the church means Christ the Christ-like characteristics that he had on the cross is what he's meaning on the headship. The headship means you have a sacrificial love for your wife. And I guarantee you, when you love your wife like Christ loved the church, wife will automatically submit. That is an automatic, that is how we are engineered to do. Like, that's how we are created to do. Nowadays, wives and husbands, they're trying to have each other submit to themselves. And it's not. This is not how we were created to be. Christ created, God created man, and then man, out of the man, from his bone, from his rib, created the woman. So to be a soulmate, to be a helpmate. So there is a higher being, higher creation behind all this. So without knowing all this, we're going on this completely different path. Like I'm individual, I'm my own person. That's what the world teaches us. You are your own individual. You need to take care of yourself. So so that's what the headship is talking about. The headship is talking about protection. It's talking about love. It's talking about it's a lot of protection and providing for your family and selfless love. A lot of the times, our marriage life doesn't always work out the way it needs to work out because we don't understand that God is the one who brought us together. It's very important to be equally yoked. There's a lot of people that say, we can marry outside of Christianity. You can't. You need to be equally yoked to have a God-centered life. That's what the Bible tells you. In Malachi chapter 2, it talks about, it's Malachi chapter 2, verse 15. It talks about what does the one God seek? It talks about godly offspring. For you to have godly offspring, you have to have a God-centered life. And for that, both the husband and the wife has to be in line with what God expects them to have. There is, I'm just going to just go over this real quick. How much time do we really get to know our spouses? How well do we know our spouses? There's people that have been married for a long time and still don't really understand what their love languages are. Gary Chapman talks about 5 love languages in his book. It talks about words of affirmation, which is those people are the ones, they always want to be just nice words, hey, you look really nice today. Hey, what you made is really good. I'm always like, whenever I make something, before they even have the first bite, I'm always like, hey, how is it? How is it? It's because of my insecurities that I'm asking all these things. So, you have to understand your spouses. You have to understand, what does your spouse earn from you? It's not, everybody has different love languages. Acts of service. Some people, you can't, words are cheap for them. Actions, you need to do stuff for them. You have to, you could be doing dishes without being told, or taking out the trash or whatever. But be smart, guys or girls. Learn what your husband's like, and men learn what your wives want. A lot of people like receiving gifts. Not everybody are. So everybody's love languages are different. So if your wife might not like to have all these gifts, so don't go and buy all these gifts and act like, why is this not working? Everybody's love language is different. Quality time. I'm going to use Bindu as an example for this one. Because I always hear Bindu saying, I need my face-to-face time. It's that quality time. It's not about you going to the movies together and watching a movie together. That's not what it's about. It's about really talking to each other without any distractions. And last but not least, physical touch. And this is not talking about weird stuff. I'm talking about just hold each other's hand. Give each other a hug. It's okay. In our community, we're even with parents, we're so strict and not hugging our kids. Physical touch has a lot of scientific There's a lot of treatment for it. Like when I know in neonatal care, like I know a lot of the nurses can tell you, like they want that physical touch because it heals. And so this book, this basically the 2 chapters that I have, it talks about the one flesh. We keep reading Ephesians. It talks about in verse. In verse 32, it talks about this is the profound mystery that what I am talking about is Christ and church. And it also talks about before that, it talks about to present herself as a radiant church without stain, and in the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. So we're talking about one flesh union. It's the head, the husband is the head and wife is the body kind of thing. The head can go one way and the body can go the other way. This does not work out. It's one flesh. If you're doing something for your wife, don't act like it's a big sacrifice. Or if you're doing something for your husband, it's one union. God, that's how God intended it to be. It's one union, it's one flesh. It also talks about how marriage is not a contract. It's not. Nowadays, a lot of marriages, we look at it as a contractual agreement and not a covenant union. What is a contractual transaction? Contractual transaction is about it's when you have a contract. Like you're signing for a house, and say something happens, like your finances doesn't go through, you can actually come out of that contract. A lot of people go into marriages thinking that it's a contract. It's not. It's a covenant union. A covenant union is, for example, our biggest example is Christ. Christ promises us all these promises. He promises us a blessing, right? Even when we go away from it, that covenant always stays. We can always come back. In marriages, a lot of times, it's conditional. Like, if you do this for me, I will stay. If you are taking care of me, I will stay. Otherwise, I go my own way. A lot of marriages need that sacrificial love. A lot of, we have this mentality that we don't need each other. God would not have created Eve if Adam didn't need her. And Eve cannot survive on her own, no matter how capable she thinks she is. And Adam cannot survive on his own. It's a complementary relationship. Look for a partner that's going to be, like for the young ones, don't look for a partner who's all good looking and who's the coolest. That person, those good looks and all that stuff fades away. Find a person who is going to be with you. This was from the book, and I thought it was very interesting. Don't look for a partner who's just going to lay in bed with you on a honeymoon, but also be kneeling at the bedside at hospice. I realized our relationship, how deep it was. Like when we first got married, we're still not a perfect couple. We're going on 20 years of marriage now. So you will be the first to tell you, I was such a brat when we got married. I had to have everything my way. I was like, this is how it's supposed to be. Why would you do it any different? This is the better way. And he was such a bomb guy, he had no idea how to tackle me. It's only by God's grace that we are still married. He used to pray, every time we used to have a fight, he didn't understand how to deal with me. Because I was so different from what he's used to. When two people come together, they come from completely different backgrounds. Our cultures are different, our habits are different, our personalities are different, what our priorities are different. So these two people come together, and you realize, okay, well, this is probably a bad idea because he's not understanding what I'm going through. First of all, guys don't understand girls. I mean, that's just a given thing. I'm just gonna put that out there. Not saying Soji doesn't understand. It's all guys, okay? Like we are very emotional and they're very logical. That's just how it is. That's how God has intended it to be. You know, like I could be very emotional about something, and I'm like in my head, and we have we're like a computer. We don't forget anything, and their memory is not all that fast. I don't know. They like Soji, like we'll have a fight and he'll forget about it like in 2 days, and I'm still thinking every word that we said. And that's just how we're engineered to be. But you know, when we came at the foot of the cross and we said, God, we can't do this on our own, God really changed both of us. You know, there was a lot of things like we're not the same people that we got married to, or like we're like I'm different and he's different. I think he's a lot tougher than what he was like when he before he married me because of survival of the strength. But and I think I've mellowed out a little bit, you know, because I realized to have because when we fight, Joshua and Jacob are looking at that. I don't want Joshua and Jacob to go into a marriage thinking this is okay. However you set your examples for your children, that's how they will be. Anytime you have a fight in your house in front of your children, the insecurities goes like this. I mean, it goes skyrocketing. Like single home children, you gotta really pray for them because there's a lot of insecurities that builds up. They don't have the confidence that the kids have that come from like God-centered family, because that confidence comes from God. And when they know that no matter what kind of issue comes up, we can sit together as a family. That family unit is strong, and you come together and you pray. You know, don't ever compare your marriage to another person. That's another thing that I see a lot of people saying, oh, you know, and it's not. Like, grass is always greener on the other side. You know, what you see on Facebook is not what's happening in their homes. Facebook is like the best picture that you see. But right after that Facebook post, they could be like at home, like not having the best day. So don't see don't pay too much attention to all that. So the takeaway from this message, cherishing your marriage, cherishing your spouse. There's a lot of people that are not in the position that you are. You know, so cherish your family. Go into a marriage with a give mentality than a take mentality. What can I do for my spouse rather than what can they do for me? Let's go and encourage each other, and always remember that it's a covenant view of marriage. It's committed. We're all in this for the long haul. We're in this as we're committed to each other through sickness or in wellness. You know, when I went through what I went through is when I realized how much our relationship got closer to God, and how much He loved me, basically. You know, like it's in your crisis that people realize who's closer to you. It's in your crisis that the true colors come out. In good times, everybody's around you, but it's in those crises when you understand how much you are loved. And I stand here, you know, having experienced that. Last but not least, submit each other under the authority of Christ. That's the most. Once you submit, once you know where you are, whose authority you're under, then everything falls into place. There is no forced submission. It automatically comes. You know, we're all married to this ideal partner before and even after marriage. We have this ideal expectation of what my husband needs to be. We take characteristics from different people's husbands, different people's wives, and say, oh, only if my husband was this way, or if my wife was this way, my life would be so much better. It's all in your attitude. Divorce your ideal spouse and fall in love with the spouse that God has given you. God bless.
Dear Heavenly Gracious Father, thank you, Lord, for this wonderful Sunday morning you have given us, Father. Thank you, Lord, for giving us the ability to speak knowledge and wisdom upon us. Father, I ask that you help us to submit to our significant other out of reverence to you, Father. Father, I ask that you will continue to bless us and to keep us safe. Continue to keep your guiding hand over every single person here, Father. Thank you, Jesus, for all that you have done for us and for loving us continuously every day, Lord. We love you and praise you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Now the first and second lessons will be read to us. In between the lessons, there will be a singing session also.
First lesson is taken from the book of prophet Isaiah, chapter 7, verses 10 to 17. യശയ്യാ പ്രവാചകന്റെ പുസ്തകം 7-ാം അധ്യായം 10 മുതൽ 17 വരെയുള്ള വാക്യങ്ങൾ. യഹോവ പിന്നെയും ആഹാസിനോട്, നിന്റെ ദൈവമായ യഹോവയുടെ താഴെ പാതാളത്തിലോ മീതെ ഉയരത്തിലോ ഒരടയാളം ചോദിച്ചുകൊള്ളുക എന്ന് കൽപ്പിച്ചതിന് ആഹാസ്, ഞാൻ ചോദിക്കുകയില്ല, യഹോവയെ പരീക്ഷിക്കുകയുമില്ല എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അതിന് അവൻ പറഞ്ഞത്, ദാവീദേ ലോകമേ കേൾപ്പീൻ, മനുഷ്യരെ മുഷിപ്പിക്കുന്നത് പോരാഞ്ഞിട്ടാ നിങ്ങൾ എന്നെ ദൈവത്തെക്കുറിച്ച് മുഷിപ്പിക്കുന്നത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് കർത്താവ് തന്നെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു അടയാളം തരും. കന്യയെ ഗർഭിണിയായി ഒരു മകനെ പ്രസവിക്കും, അവന് ഇമ്മാനുവേൽ എന്ന് പേർ വിളിക്കും. തിന്മ തള്ളി നന്മ തിരഞ്ഞെടുപ്പാൻ പ്രായമാവും വരെ അവൻ തൈരും തേനും കൊണ്ട് ഉപജീവിക്കും. തിന്മ തള്ളി നന്മ തിരഞ്ഞെടുക്കാൻ ഭാരത പ്രായമാവും മുമ്പേ നീ വെറുക്കുന്ന 2 രാജാക്കന്മാരുടെയും ദേശം ഉപേക്ഷിക്കപ്പെട്ടിരിക്കും. യഹോവ നിന്റെ മേലും നിന്റെ ജനത്തിന്മേലും നിന്റെ പിതൃഭവനത്തിന്മേലും എഫ്രയീം യഹൂദയെ വിട്ടുപിരിക്കുന്ന നാൾ മുതൽ വന്നിട്ടില്ലാത്തൊരു കാലം വരുത്തും. അശ്ശൂർ രാജാവിൽ തന്നെ. ഇങ്ങനെ 1-ാം പാഠം അവസാനിച്ചു.
More of you in my life. second lesson is taken from 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 8 through 16. 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 8 through 16. Finally, all of you, be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate and humble. Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because to this you were called, so that you may inherit a blessing. For whoever would love life and see good days must keep their tongue from evil, and their lips from deceitful speech. They must turn from evil and do good. They must seek peace and pursue it. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their prayer. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. Who is going to harm you if you are eager to do good? But even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Do not fear their threats. Do not be frightened. But in your hearts, revere Christ as Lord. But in your hearts, always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect, keeping a clear conscience, so that those who speak maliciously against your good behavior in Christ may be ashamed of their slander. Here ends the second lesson.
In your life we see the light Jesus, full of light. It's your light that shines upon our world, light our minds. May your light reveal the sin in our hearts as we humbly pray in spirit and truth. O Lord Jesus the Christ, born of Mary, baptized by John, have mercy on us. Holy art thou, God. Holy art Holy Spirit, enable us to obey your commands gladly and fulfill your holy will perfectly. Peace be with you all. The Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, which proclaims life and salvation to the world, as recorded by the evangelist Saint Matthew. Happened in this way. Now the birth of Jesus Christ took place in this way. When his mother Mary had been betrothed to Joseph, before they came together, she was found to be with child from the Holy Spirit. And her husband Joseph, being a just man and unwilling to put her to shame, resolved to divorce her quietly. But as he considered these things, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, do not fear to take Mary as a wife, for that which is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had spoken by the prophet. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. When Joseph woke from sleep, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded him. He took his wife, but knew her not until she had given birth to a son, and he called his name Jesus. Peace be with you all. And also with you. Thank you, Lord, that you give us the gospel, which is the light of the world, to draw us closer to you. Enable us by your grace to give praise to you, to deliver us from the gospel. Let us pray to the Lord for his blessings and mercy. Lord, as source of all blessings, help us and bless us. O Lord, help us continually to offer praise and thanksgiving to you, to the Lord Messiah, who at the great and holiest of holy places, who by your invisible grace guide us, who is eternal and continuous, and who by triple praises is praised with astonishment, and who is confessed as one true God without being able to be tested, known by three spirits and believed as one. At this time of perfecting the divine sacrifice of praise, and all the days of our life, you have due praise and thanksgiving. Amen. sins. Through your loving mercy, good Lord, wipe away the sins of all believers. O Lord God, in your mercy and goodness, remember us, our parents, brothers and sisters, our bishops, clergy, teachers of the faith, and all the faithful children of your holy and glorious church. Lord God, comfort us in body, mind, and spirit. Shower your mercy upon us. Be the remission of our sins. Make us worthy of the good end that is set forth for children of peace. To you we offer praise and thanksgiving forever and ever. Amen. O God, who is good in character, in reality is God, and is indescribable, endless, invisible, and one who is unimaginable, the real life and the beginning of reality, who enlightens all creation as the light from the light. We remember your love towards us and offer as the sacrifice and remedy for us to God the Father. Give us grace to do priestly service in your holy presence of purity and perform the honorable and life-giving commandment faithfully, and to offer our bodies and souls to your Father as a well-pleasing sacrifice. Because of this, Lord God, we pray, acknowledging your love for humanity, for the following: arouse in us knowledge and power of discretion, courage, power of imagination, fear of God and experience of salvation, the privilege of sonship, and your love, living Holy Spirit, which confirms us. Sanctify us, and this holy Kurbana, which is being perfected now. Have your Holy Spirit come and abide to mark our souls and bodies, and completely eradicate from our hearts all blemishes and sinful emotions. Make us worthy, having pure hearts and humble souls, for perfect and heavenly peace which you gave your holy apostles and said, I leave my peace with you. Establish the eternal peace in our souls and in your whole church. Make us eligible to loudly say with purity, along with cherubim and seraphim and all the heavenly hosts, the Almighty Lord is holy, 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 and the heaven and earth is full of his praises, for you are holy, and are praised along with your Father and your Holy Spirit, now and forevermore. Amen. Read and as we are, let us confess and together say, Holy is the Holy Father. Our Heavenly Father, once again we are coming to your presence. We need your grace and we need your mercy. Lord, we are praying for those who knelt before you. Lord, you gave one more year in their life to praise you, to worship you. As Senboard family, we are praying for them. We are thanking to you for all the fellowship which we are experiencing through them. Lord, as they enter into their new year, be with them and bless them. Help them to understand you more. Lord, bless their profession, bless their family life, bless in all their needs. Lord, we are praying for those who could not attend today's worship service, wherever they are. Lord, bless them also. Lord, accept their offering. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. യേശുവിന്റെ ജനനവുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട് പല അറിയിപ്പുകൾ ലഭിക്കും. കുടുംബ ജീവിതത്തിൽ പ്രവേശിപ്പാനായിട്ട് ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്ന, വിവാഹം ഫിക്സ് ചെയ്യപ്പെട്ടിരുന്ന ജോസഫും മേരിയും സ്വപ്നങ്ങൾ തകർന്ന് വീഴുന്ന അതിൽ ഒരു വാക്യം കൺഫെഷന് മുമ്പായി വായിക്കുവാനായിട്ട് ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നു. വിശുദ്ധ മത്തായിയുടെ സുവിശേഷമാണല്ലോ നാം വായിച്ചത്. അവിടെ നാം കാണുന്നു, when Joseph woke from sleep, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded him. He took his wife. An angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, do not fear to take Mary as your wife. ഉറങ്ങുവാൻ കിടന്നപ്പോൾ ചില തീരുമാനങ്ങളുമായി ഉറങ്ങിയ ജോസഫ് വളരെ രഹസ്യമായി മറിയെ ഉപേക്ഷിക്കാം എന്ന് ചിന്തിച്ചതായ ജോസഫ് ഉറക്കമെഴുന്നേറ്റപ്പോൾ, മലയാളത്തിൽ ഇങ്ങനെയാണ് വായിക്കുന്നത്, ഭാര്യയെ ചേർത്തുകൊണ്ടു. 20-ാം വാക്യത്തിൽ കാണുന്ന ഭാര്യയായ മറിയെ ചേർത്തുകൊള്ളുവാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുകയാണ്. ചേർത്ത് പിടിക്കുക, സുഖദുഃഖങ്ങളിൽ ചേർത്ത് പിടിക്കുക. ആരോഗ്യമുള്ളപ്പോഴും അനാരോഗ്യമുള്ളപ്പോഴും വളരെ വ്യക്തമായി എനിക്ക് പറഞ്ഞു. ജീവിതത്തിലെ ഏത് അനുഭവങ്ങളിലും നമ്മുടെ മുൻപിൽ റോൾ മോഡലായി കാണപ്പെടുന്നു ജോസഫ് ആൻഡ് മേരി. തിരുക്കുടുംബം എപ്പോഴും നമുക്ക് മാതൃകയാണ്. ഒരുപാട് കാരണങ്ങളൊക്കെ ഉണ്ട് ഡിവോഴ്സ് ചെയ്യുവാൻ. സ്വയം നീതിമാനായി രക്ഷപ്പെട്ടു പോവാം. ആ പെൺകുട്ടിയെ കല്ലെറിഞ്ഞ് ഒളിപ്പിക്കാം. തീരുമാനങ്ങളോടുകൂടി, കടുത്ത തീരുമാനങ്ങളോട് ഉറങ്ങുവാൻ കിടന്ന ജോസഫ് ദൈവിക ഇടപെടലിന് ചെവി കൊടുത്തപ്പോൾ ഭാര്യയെ ചേർത്ത് പിടിച്ചു. പ്രിയമുള്ളവരെ, വിശുദ്ധ കുർബാനയ്ക്ക് മുമ്പായി ഉപസ്ഥാനത്തിനായി നാം ഒരുങ്ങുകയാണ്. നമ്മളുടെ ഭാര്യ, നമ്മുടെ പങ്കാളി പല പരിമിതികൾ കാണും. ശക്തിയില്ലായ്മയും ഒക്കെ കുടുംബ ജീവിതത്തിലുണ്ട്. ചില കഴിവുകൾ ഭാര്യയ്ക്ക് കാണും. ഭർത്താവിന് ചില കഴിവുകളുണ്ട്. നിന്റെ നോട്ടത്തിൽ ചില ഭർത്താവിന് ചില കഴിവില്ലായ്മകൾ കാണും. ചേർത്ത് പിടിക്കുവാൻ സാധിക്കുന്നിടത്ത് ദൈവം നമ്മെ അനുഗ്രഹിക്കും. അവിടെയാണ് ദൈവം നമ്മെ കൂട്ടിച്ചേർത്തിരിക്കുന്നത്. പെർഫെക്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ലോകത്താർക്കും ആരെയും ലഭിക്കുന്നില്ല. പലപ്പോഴും പറയാറുള്ളത് പോലെ സാമ്പത്തിക കാര്യങ്ങളിൽ വളരെ ചിലവഴിക്കുന്ന ഭാര്യയ്ക്ക് വളരെ പിശുക്കനായ ഒരു ഭർത്താവിനെയായി കിട്ടുന്നു. അവിടെയാണ് ദൈവത്തിന്റെ യോജിപ്പ്. നമ്മൾ ഇന്നായിരിക്കുന്നത് എന്താണോ അത് ദൈവത്തിന്റെ കൃപയാണ്. ദൈവമാണ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് നിങ്ങളുടെ പങ്കാളിയെ തന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്. Let us close our eyes before we are entering into confession. Let us examine our lives. Let us examine our life. Let us humble ourselves. Let us be humble. ചേർത്ത് പിടിക്കുവാൻ നമുക്ക് സാധിക്കുന്നു. ദൈവമുമ്പാകെ നമ്മുടെ കുറവുകളെ നമുക്ക് ഏറ്റുപറയാം. എവിടെയെങ്കിലും ഭാര്യാഭർത്തൃ ബന്ധത്തിൽ വീഴ്ചകൾ സംഭവിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ വിശുദ്ധ കുർബാനയിലൂടെ ആ കുറവുകളെ നമുക്ക് ഏറ്റുപറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് റെക്കൺസിലിയേഷന്റെ അനുരഞ്ജനത്തിന്റെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ മാതൃകയിലേക്ക് നമുക്ക് പ്രവേശിക്കാം. നാം കേട്ടതുപോലെ ഭാര്യാഭർത്തൃ ബന്ധത്തിലെ പല പ്രശ്നങ്ങളും കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളുടെ ഭാവിയെ പോലും നശിപ്പിച്ചു കളയുന്നു. ഇതിനു വേണ്ടിയാണ് നാം കൂടുന്നത്. വാക്കുകൊണ്ടും പ്രവൃത്തി കൊണ്ടും ഒക്കെ നമ്മുടെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ സംഭവിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള കുറവുകളെ ദൈവമാകെ നമുക്ക് ഏറ്റുപറയാം. Let us confess before God, for God Almighty is with us to forgive you. He is ready to forgive you. Let us be humble and let us confess all our sins before God. Whether it is knowingly or unknowingly we do, let us confess all our sins before God. അറിയാതെ ഒക്കെ ചെയ്തു പോയ കുറവുകളെ നമുക്ക് ഏറ്റുപറയാം. Those who would like to partake in the Holy Communion service, please stand up for prayer of confession. തേടി വന്നു that you will receive all those who truly repent. O Lord, who is merciful and full of grace, accept me, even as you accepted the publican, the woman who was a sinner, and the thief on the cross. Comfort me with the consolation of your word. O Lord, grant that your holy body and holy blood, in which I now partake, may redeem me from judgment and condemnation, and bring me to life and goodness. Amen. ദൈവമാകെ നമ്മുടെ കുറവുകളെ നമുക്ക് ഏറ്റുപറയാം. സഭയാൻ ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന കുമ്പസാരത്തിന്റെയും പ്രാർത്ഥന ആത്മാർത്ഥമായ അനുതാപത്തോടെ എന്റെ പിന്നാലെ ഏറ്റുചൊല്ലാം. സർവശക്തിയുള്ള ബാബാ തമ്പുരാനെ, നിനക്ക് വിരോധമായും ലോകത്തെ രക്ഷിപ്പാനായി തന്റെ കൃപയാൽ വിശുദ്ധ കന്യകാമറിയാമിൽ ജനിച്ച് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് വേണ്ടി കഷ്ടത അനുഭവിച്ച് മരിച്ച് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് രക്ഷ നൽകിയ തമ്പുരാനെ, നിനക്ക് വിരോധമായും സകലത്തെയും ജീവിപ്പിക്കുന്നവനും ആശ്വസിപ്പിച്ച് ശുദ്ധീകരിക്കുന്നവനുമായ പരിശുദ്ധാത്മാവാൻ തമ്പുരാനെ, ഞാൻ ചെയ്തു പോയ സകല പാപങ്ങളെയും സങ്കടപ്പെടുന്നു. മനുഷ്യരുടെ അന്യായങ്ങളെ ക്ഷമിക്കുന്നവനും ഇല്ലാത്തവനുമായ സർവശക്തിയുള്ള ദൈവമായ കർത്താവേ, എന്റെ ഹൃദയങ്ങളെ നിങ്ങളിലേക്ക് നീട്ടി എന്റെ സകല ലംഘനങ്ങളുടെയും മോചനം നിന്നോട് യാചിച്ചു കൊടുക്കുന്നു. ഞാൻ മുഴുവനും നിങ്ങളായിരിക്കാൻ നിന്റെ ദിവ്യ രഹസ്യങ്ങളുടെ ദാനം നിന്നിൽ ലഭിക്കാനുമായി ഞാൻ അയോഗ്യനെങ്കിലും എതിരാളികളുടെ സകല വ്യാപാരങ്ങളിൽ നിന്നും എന്റെ ബോധത്തെയും ദുർമോഹത്തോടെ നോക്കാതിരിക്കാൻ എന്റെ കണ്ണുകളെയും വ്യർത്ഥകാര്യങ്ങളെ കേൾക്കാതിരിക്കാൻ എന്റെ ചെവികളെയും വെറുക്കത്തക്ക പ്രവൃത്തികളിൽ നിന്ന് എന്റെ കൈകളെയും നിന്നാൽ പ്രയോഗിക്കപ്പെടത്തക്കവണ്ണം എന്റെ അന്തരംഗങ്ങളെയും കാത്തുകൊള്ളണമെന്ന് നിന്നോട് ഞാൻ അപേക്ഷിക്കുന്നു. ആമേൻ. May God Almighty be compassionate to all of you who have truly confessed your sins. God has freely forgiven your sins to make you worthy to partake in His Holy Communion. Amen. Please be seated. Now the choir will sing song and then an offering will be taken.
Thank
Lord, thank you for all those who partake today's offertory service. Lord, bless them abundantly. Bless their family. And Lord, accept this offering as Abel's offering. In Jesus' name, mighty name we pray. Dearly beloved, may we plead that this service may be acceptable to the Lord. Insincerity and united in love to you, O Father, and your Holy Son, and the Holy Spirit, we aspire praise and glory, one God, now and forever. Amen. Peace be with you all. And also with you. The love of God the Father, the grace of the only begotten Son, be with you all, dearly beloved, forever. And also with you. May our hearts be with Christ on high. Sing praises and worship the Creator of all things. And all that dwell them, angels and archangels, thrones and powers, cherubim and seraphim, ever proclaiming, Holy, 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 Almighty, heaven and earth full of His glory, Hosanna in the highest, blessed is His come, and coming in Lord, Hosanna in the highest. When the sinless one of His own being Take, eat, this is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Amen. In the same manner, he took the cup. Bless the Lord. He gave thanks, blessed, sanctified, and gave it to his apostles, saying, drink this, all of you. This is my blood of the new covenant, which is shed for me for the forgiveness of sins. Amen. Thus, as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes. O Lord, as we remember your death, burial, resurrection, ascension, and look forward to your second coming, to judge the world in righteousness and truth. We offer this service and sacrifice, entreating you not to deal with us according to our sins, but according to your own abundant mercy and saying, answer unto us, O Lord. Answer unto us, O Lord. Answer unto us, O Lord. And by your grace, have mercy on us. May the Holy Spirit sanctify this bread, that it may be the body of our Lord Jesus Christ. May the Holy Spirit sanctify the wine in this chalice, that it may be the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ. O Lord, sanctify the bodies and souls of those who receive these gifts, that they may bear fruit for the stability of your holy church. Establish your family, your holy church, founded on the rock of faith, against which the gates of hell shall not prevail, and preserve them to the end from strife forever. To you, with the Son and the Holy Spirit, we will offer praise and thanksgiving, both now and forever.
Look with mercy, O Lord, on your holy church throughout the world, and all the bishops to bear the burden of leading and guiding her, especially our Father in God, Philippos Microsoft, Billy Metropolitan, Joseph Markham Metropolitan, the moderators of CSI and CNI, Archbishop of the Anglican Church, our diocesan episcopal, other bishops, Georgios Martirosius, Joachim Markouros, Joseph Mark Barnabas, Thomas Mark Timotheus, Isaac Mark Felixinos, Abraham Mark Paulos, Matthews Mark Macarios, Gregorios Mark Stephanos, Thomas Mark Titos, priests, deacons, evangelists, faithful members of our church, and seekers of the faith. Lord, we remember all who exercise authority in various countries, especially in this country. Give to each one your Holy Spirit, that they may diligently work in your vineyard.
Lord, have mercy.
Lord, remember the Mother of our Lord, the Blessed Virgin Mary, the holy apostles, the prophets, the preachers, the evangelists, the martyrs, the confessors, and all the saints. Lord, remember the three councils of Nicaea, Constantinople, and Ephesus, and all the holy fathers who participated in them. Make us worthy to follow in their footsteps. Lord, we also remember all the faithful who are departed and fallen asleep in the true faith. Grant that we also may with them be counted worthy of the remission of our sins, and be gathered into your heavenly kingdom.
Lord, have mercy.
As Sedward family, let us submit 158 families into the mighty hands of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. there will be different issues in each family. Intolerances are there. Misunderstanding of partners are there. Disobedience of children. Lack of intimacy. Lack of understanding power. As we heard today, let us, first of all, let us submit to God, the Almighty, who united us. നമ്മെ കൂട്ടിച്ചേർത്ത കുടുംബങ്ങളായി കൂട്ടിച്ചേർത്ത ദൈവത്തിന് മുൻപാകെ നമ്മെ തന്നെ താഴ്ത്തി കേൾപ്പിക്കാം. There are some families who are facing lack of security feelings within the family. Let us uphold that family in our care. There are many of our members, those who are undergoing through hard times, financially, physically, mentally and spiritually. Let us pray for them. എല്ലാ ഉത്കണ്ഠകളെയും എല്ലാ ഭാരങ്ങളെയും എന്റെ മേൽ വിട്ടുകൊള്ളുവാൻ അരുളി ചെയ്ത കർത്താവിന്റെ കരങ്ങളിൽ അവരുടെ സകല ഉത്കണ്ഠകളെ ഏൽപ്പിച്ചു, സകല പ്രശ്നങ്ങളെ ഏൽപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് ദൈവ കൃപയിൽ ആശ്രയിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് മുമ്പോട്ട് പോകുവാൻ ദൈവമേ അവരെ സഹായിക്കണമേ എന്ന് നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. Let us pray for those who are getting ready for surgeries this week. Especially, let us pray for Phil Matthew. He actually ഒരു സർജറിക്ക് വിധേയനാകുവാനായിട്ട് ഒരുങ്ങുന്നു. അദൃശ്യമായ ദൈവത്തിന്റെ കൃപയുടെ കരങ്ങളിൽ പ്രിയ ദാസനെ ദൈവമേ നീ കാത്തുകൊണ്ട് ദൈവകൃപയിൽ പൂർണ്ണമായ സ്വർഗത്തോടെ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒന്നിച്ച ദൈവത്തെ സ്തുതിപ്പാർക്കത്തോളം നീ സഹായിക്കണമേ, ശക്തീകരിക്കണമേ എന്ന് നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. Let us uphold all those who are affected, different kinds of diseases. Let us uphold all the sick people in and around us. പലർക്കു വേണ്ടി നമ്മൾ ഈ ദിവസങ്ങളിൽ പ്രാർത്ഥിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നവരുണ്ടല്ലോ. പല വിധങ്ങളിലായ സംഘർഷങ്ങളെ കടന്നു പോകുന്ന ധാരാളം ആളുകൾ ഇന്ന് രാവിലെ സൗദിയിൽ നിന്ന് റജി എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരാളുടെ ആവശ്യമായി വിളിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നു. രാവിലെ ഓഫീസിൽ പോയതാണ്, പെട്ടെന്ന് താഴെ വീണു, കാലുകൾക്കും കരങ്ങൾക്കും ബലമില്ലാതായിരിക്കുന്നു, നേരെ നിൽക്കുവാൻ പ്രാണിയില്ലാതായിരിക്കുന്ന ആ പ്രിയ ദാസനെ ദൈവകരങ്ങളിലേക്ക് ഏൽപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. കർത്താവേ, ഞങ്ങളുടെ ശരീരം, ഞങ്ങളുടെ ബലം ഞങ്ങൾ എന്തിനായിരിക്കുന്നു അത് നിന്റെ കൃപയാലാകുന്നുവെന്ന് ഞങ്ങൾ തിരിച്ചറിയുന്നു. ആ പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട ദാസന് പൂർണ്ണമായ സൗഖ്യം നൽകി ദൈവ കൃപയിൽ ബലപ്പെടുത്തണമേ നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. നമ്മുടെ ഇടവാംഗമായിരിക്കുന്ന പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട ടോയ് കഴിഞ്ഞ ഒരാഴ്ചക്കാലമായി പുറം വേദനയാൽ വളരെയധികം ഭാരപ്പെടുന്നു. ഈ ദിവസങ്ങളിലൊക്കെ ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിൽ പോയി ഡോക്ടേഴ്സിനെ കണ്ടുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നു. കർത്താവേ, നിന്റെ മകന് ആവശ്യമായ പൂർണ്ണമായ സൗഖ്യം നീ നൽകി നിന്റെ ദാസനെ ശക്തീകരിക്കണമേ, ബലപ്പെടുത്തണമേ. നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. സാനിക്കായി നമുക്ക് സ്തോത്രം ചെയ്യാം. ദേവാലയത്തിൽ കടന്നു വരുവാൻ നിന്റെ മകളെ ബലപ്പെടുത്തിയാൽ നമുക്ക് ദൈവത്തിന് സ്തോത്രം ചെയ്യാം. അലക്സ് ജേക്കബ് നാട്ടിലേക്ക് പോയിരിക്കുന്നു. അലക്സിന്റെ പ്രിയ പിതാവ് ഈ ജേക്കബ് RCCയിൽ അഡ്മിറ്റ് ആയിരിക്കുന്നു. ആ പ്രിയ പിതാവിനെ ദൈവ കരങ്ങളിൽ ഏൽപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. ദൈവമേ, നിന്റെ ആശ്വാസം, നിന്റെ സൗഖ്യം നിന്റെ മകന് നൽകി. നിന്റെ കൃപ കൂടെ ഇരിക്കണമേ. വേദനകളിൽ നിന്ന് സൗഖ്യം നൽകണമേ, ആശ്വസിപ്പിക്കണമേ. നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. തങ്ങളുടെ കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളെ ഓർത്ത്, കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളുടെ ചില പ്രത്യേകമായ ചില പ്രയാസങ്ങൾ ഓർത്ത്, മാനസികമായും ശാരീരികവുമായ ചില പ്രയാസങ്ങൾ നേരിടുന്ന കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളുടെ മാതാപിതാക്കൾ വളരെയധികം ഭാരപ്പെട്ട് അവരുടെ പ്രാർത്ഥനാ വിഷയം പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കണമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്. ദൈവകരങ്ങളിലേക്ക് നമുക്ക് ആ കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളെ ഏൽപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. യേശുവേ, സൗഖ്യദായകനെ, ഞങ്ങളുടെ കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളോട് നീ കരുണ ചെയ്യണമേ. കർത്താവേ, അവരുടെ മാനസികമായ സൗഖ്യം, ശാരീരികമായ സൗഖ്യം നീ നൽകിയവരെ ബലപ്പെടുത്തണമേ. നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. അനേക പ്രാർത്ഥന ആവശ്യപ്പെട്ട് പല അവസരങ്ങളായി വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. ദാമ്പത്യ ജീവിതത്തിൽ, ഫാമിലി ലൈഫിൽ പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ നേരിടുന്ന തങ്ങളുടെ മക്കളെ ഓർത്ത് ഭാരപ്പെടുന്ന മാതാപിതാക്കൾ ഉണ്ട്. അവരെ ഏൽപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. കർത്താവേ, നീ കൂട്ടിച്ചേർത്തത് ദൈവമേ തമ്മിൽ തമ്മിൽ താനും തടലുമായിരിക്കാനാണല്ലോ. ഞങ്ങളുടെ കുടുംബങ്ങളെ, ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഇടവകയിലെ ഓരോ കുടുംബങ്ങളെയും ദൈവമേ, ഇവിടെ ആരാധനയിൽ പങ്കെടുക്കുന്ന മാതാപിതാക്കളുടെ കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളെ നിന്റെ കരങ്ങളിലേക്ക് ഏൽപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കുന്നു. ദൈവമേ, യേശുവേ, ഈ ജീവിതത്തെ പറ്റി ശരിയായ കാഴ്ചപ്പാട് അവർക്ക് നൽകണമേ. നിന്നെ അറിയേണ്ടതുപോലെ അറിയുവാൻ കർത്താവേ, നീ അവരെ സഹായിക്കണമേ. നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. തകർത്ത് കളയുവാനല്ലോ ദൈവം കൂട്ടിച്ചേർത്തത്. അന്ത്യം വരെയുള്ള യാത്ര വിശ്വസ്തയോടും ദൈവത്തോടുള്ള വിധേയത്തോടു കൂടി തുടരുവാൻ അവരെ സഹായിക്കണമേ. നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. ദൈവമേ, അവരുടെ മനസ്സുകളിൽ നീ രൂപാന്തരം നൽകണമേ. നീ അവരെ പിടിച്ചെടുക്കണമേ. നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. There were issues, our secret prayer request, which we cannot reveal to anyone. Let us uphold all our personal needs. നമ്മുടെ വ്യക്തിപരമായ ആവശ്യം ആരോട് പറയുവാൻ സാധിക്കാതെ നാം കൊണ്ടു നടക്കുന്ന ദൈവം നമ്മളിൽ മാത്രം ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്ന ചില പ്രാർത്ഥനാ വിഷയങ്ങളുമായി ആരാധനയിൽ പങ്കെടുക്കുന്നവരുണ്ടല്ലോ. പ്രിയരുടെ ഹൃദയത്തിന്റെ ഭാരങ്ങളെ ദൈവസന്നിധിയിലേക്ക് ഇറക്കി വെക്കാം. ഹന്നാ ദൈവസന്നിധിയിൽ കരഞ്ഞതുപോലെ നിങ്ങളുടെ ഹൃദയത്തിന്റെ തേങ്ങലുകളെ കാണുന്ന ഒരു ദൈവം, നിങ്ങളുടെ ഹൃദയത്തിന്റെ നൊമ്പരങ്ങളെ അറിയുന്ന ഒരു ദൈവം നമ്മളുടെ മധ്യത്തിലുണ്ട്. അത് കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളുടെ വിവാഹ ആവശ്യങ്ങളായിരിക്കാം, തലമുറകളില്ലാതെ ഭാരപ്പെടുന്ന വിഷയങ്ങളായിരിക്കാം, എന്തു തന്നെ ആയിക്കൊള്ളട്ടെ. ദൈവകരങ്ങളിലേക്ക് ഏൽപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് അല്പസമയം മൗനമായി നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. Oh God. oblation presented before you. Sanctify our bodies, souls, and spirits, so that in pure and confident hearts we may address you as God and Father and pray, our Father in heaven. Uncreated, self-existent, and eternal, and adorable in one innocence, be with you all, dearly beloved forever. And also with you, Holy Trinity, have mercy on us. Holy things for, holy
Holy is the one Father, holy is the one Son, holy is the one Spirit.
Glory be to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit.
Amen. Forever and ever. Amen.
The one Holy Father who created the world in His mercy is with us.
Amen.
The one Holy Son who saved by His precious passion is with us. That is and that has been is with us. May the name of the Lord be blessed as in the beginning, both now and forever.
As we come to your table, we recall those gone before us. Grant their lives be an example. May we use their teaching as our guide. Lord, you prepared this communion. You are our hope and salvation. We bow our heads in your presence as we share in your body and blood. May we find renewal of life in you. Lord, have mercy. 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 Lord, have, Lord, have, Lord, have mercy.
Dearly beloved, pray for me. Glory be to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit.
O Lord, at your command death held its sway. You abolished death through your resurrection from the dead. Therefore we praise and exalt you. O Lord, every mouth shall sing your praise. O Lord, who gathers up the children of Adam from everywhere, bless us and help us.
Son of God, grant us your death to life, raise us from the dust, and we may praise you. God the Father, the Son, and the Holy
of sins to your servants through your own atoning sacrifice. Amen. O Lord, God graciously bless these children who partake of your most precious body and blood, which was given on Calvary for the forgiveness of sins, that they may abide in your presence forever. Amen. The blessing of Jesus Christ, our great God and Savior, be on those who bear these sacred mysteries, on those who dispense them, on those who receive them, and all who have participated and who shall participate in them. The grace of God be on us, all both, now and forever. The holy body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ, broken and shed on the cross for the forgiveness of sins, are given to you for the health of body and soul.
All of my days. Listen to our desperate
be not for our condemnation, but for life and salvation to us all. O God, grant us your blessing. Strengthen us with the precious body and blood of your Son, our Savior Jesus Christ, and you have thereby made us one with Him, and with all the members of His mystical body. We pray you to give us grace to continue in that holy fellowship, and ever to offer glory and praise to you, and your only begotten Son, and your Holy Spirit. Filled with gladness and rejoicing,